In the past 5-6 months, we have been looking for an apartment to buy here in Dubai at around 1 million dirham. Now, I have visited over 30 different apartments, which were good and bad for all sorts of different reasons, but I've narrowed it down to my top 10-ish, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit of why I like them, along with all the details of how much they cost and what they look like. We're going to take you along for the ride with us, and if you stick around to the end, you'll actually see the one we have settled on and bought, which is really exciting. Now, our requirement actually changed halfway through this process because we were actually looking to live in it, but now after 7 years in Dubai, we are moving to Saudi Arabia. While we still had the funds to do this, we thought we're going to turn this into an investment property. So that's slightly changed how we're looking at this. So we're looking a lot more at the numbers and things, not so much if we're going to live there ourselves. But that said, we still come across some incredible apartments that I'm going to guide you through now. Now, during my time here in Dubai, I've pretty much always lived in the south, in like Marina behind me, or Arjan, Sports City, and all those different areas. So we're going to be focusing a lot on the south instead of up north like DIFC and things, because I don't know a lot about them. And that being said, I am not a real estate agent, so some of the information might be slightly skewed, but this is all first-hand experience from myself over this process of a couple of months. So it should give you a pretty good insight if you're starting this process. Now, let me run you through some of the metrics we're going to be looking at during this. So we've got 10 different apartments we're going to check out in a couple of different areas. We're also going to look at what size bed it is, if it's a 1 or a 2 bed or a studio, and how many square foot, which is quite important to know the sort of size of apartment we're looking at, because that varies a lot depending on the area. We're then going to look at the total cost of the property, along with the 4% DLD fee, which is the Dubai Land Department fee, which you have to pay to the government basically to do the transaction of going from the seller to the buyer. Then there's the 2% agent fee, which is for the agent for doing all the paperwork and everything along the process. Your service fee, which is a yearly fee for the apartment. Even though you own it, you still have to pay for the services like the gym and the pool and everything. So we've also got that number in there because that's going to be an ongoing cost, as well as the amount it rents out for currently. Because the key here is it's an investment, so we've got to make sure we're covering the cost of the mortgage and getting our money back. You could work out ROI, but I'm not going to do that because this video has already taken me a long time to come up with, bringing all of these apartments together for you guys. So we are starting with apartment number 1, which is an area called Studio City. Now, this is a little bit out of town. It's kind of near Sports City, Talal Al Gaf, and also Damac Hills. Talal Al Gaf is a really nice development which has come around in the past year or so, and the prices have skyrocketed. That was actually one of the places we looked at where we wanted to live, but the prices have gone pretty crazy, where it's like 2.5 million for like a 2-3 bed townhouse now. But anyway, this is just across the road in Studio City. We're looking at this building here by Samana called Gulf Avenue. Now, this is a brand new apartment block which only opened a couple months ago, and we're taking a look at a 1 bed at 705 square foot. So it's not the biggest, but as you can see, it's very modern, very nice, and it's got this little extra room around the side. It's also got this smaller balcony looking into nowhere. This is the view of the first unit. We're actually up here, and then it looks out onto this road, and then there's this area here, so something could get built here, and then Talal Al Gaf's there, and this is the main reception. But this area, there's still a road in between, so you're never going to get like fully blocked from there. And to start us off, we're looking at one that costs 850,000 dirham. And I'll put the other currencies along the bottom here in pounds and dollars for anyone else, which is quite a reasonable price for this apartment. It has a nice little pool outside, and it does seem quite family orientated with the other play areas and things. Bit of a smaller gym, bit of a smaller apartment, but very nice. Now, the down payment of 20% is 170,000, plus the 4% DLD is 34,000, and the agent fee is 17,000. You've also got about 9,000 dirham a year in service fees, and they currently rent out for about 80,000 dirham. So you're covering your mortgage, and you're getting quite a nice apartment if you can find a tenant for it. We'll just skim over the first couple of apartments and get into a bit more detail of the areas and things later. But our next one, number 2, is also in Studio City, a little bit down the road, and this is called Layer Height. Now, this one is a little bit more inside Studio City, so you've got the hotel just next door, which has a couple of bars and things, which is nice, as well as a bit more of a developed community around it. I think in the future they're supposed to be getting a metro line heading all the way down to Studio City, which has seen a bit of an increase in prices there, but that's going to be a long way off, like 10-20 years. Now, this one is a 1 bed, and it's only 610 square foot, so it's even smaller than the last one we saw, but it's a similar price at 880k, along with a similar down payment DLD and all of that. And this one actually rents out for slightly less at about 70,000. Now, the one we saw was on a very low floor, which isn't appealing to us, but it might be to other people that might want to rent it. And it also overlooks the pool, which again, some people might like. It's not for me. We're not living in those apartments, so it's not something that we need to concern ourselves with if we don't like the finishing, because this is literally just an investment, but it needs to be nice enough that someone will rent it. So it's trying to find that balance. Our next couple of apartments are an interesting place to talk about, and that is Dubai South. Now, there's been a lot of hype about Dubai South recently because there's the announcement of Al Maktoum Airport becoming Dubai's big new hub for commercial aviation. Wow, look at me trying to act all smart. Basically, this area is said to become really, really popular over the next 5 or so years. There's a load of developments by Emaar and Damac all in this area, and already a lot of the off-plan properties have sold out, even though they're not going to be built for another few years. So this is a very interesting area because people are expecting any apartments in the area to really shoot up in value as people want to be near the airport, as such as downtown at the moment. We started off by looking at a 1-bed down there from one of my friends. Now, this is 850 square foot, which is the biggest we've seen so far. Because they have the space out there, the developments that are already built are actually pretty big. And if you don't mind being out of the way at the moment, in the future there's going to be a lot around you, this is a great deal. For us, there's nothing around there. We do see the potential, but also we wanted to play it quite safe with a built-up area already. So that one was 850,000. So it's pretty good value for money if you're looking in terms of square foot and to live in. But the rental of that property is about 70,000, so it's a little bit less than the others. Now, looking at that, we also looked at a 2-bed there, which was huge at around 1,100 square foot, and that was coming out at just over million dirham, sort of 1.1 million. And that rents out for about 70,000. So you're just about getting your mortgage covered. And again, the thing is to look at with Dubai South is the appreciation of the actual asset. So obviously you've got this apartment, you've paid 1.1 million. From what my friend was telling me, that's said to go up by about 20-30% in the next few years as the other developments come around. And what you've got to think about is these are big apartments. A lot of these new builds are fairly small. So when all these new builds come up around it, the older apartment, the one that's available now, is actually going to be bigger, and people might pay a premium for that. It's a very interesting thing to try and consider and wrap your head around and try and work out what's best, and you can see why we're really struggling with this. So that was apartment number 3, kind of 3 and 4, because you saw a 1-bed and a 2-bed, but you can see it's a really nice big apartment, and if you don't mind living in the middle of nowhere at the moment, it's a pretty good deal. And there's also a couple of Damac buildings down there which are full because the rent is so cheap. Now we're heading over to a new area called the Greens. Well, I say new, it's probably one of the first developments in Dubai, so it's fairly old. And when you say old in Dubai, it's actually only like 20 years, but still an older development. So these apartments have been around for a while. That being said, it's a really good location because it's near Sheikh Zayed Road. There's a lot around you. You've got Al Barsha, you've got Marina across the road, and it's really nice with a lot of greenery and parks. Now, the one we went and visited was a 1-bed, and it was 800 square foot, which was actually pretty big. Now, it had this big open kitchen and big open living room going out onto the balcony with this incredible view. This really sold it for us, and we really liked it. It's quite a desirable view. Now, the other side of this building is actually overlooking a golf course, which means this side is slightly cheaper, but you still get these incredible city views. But here's the interesting thing. It's 1.5 million for this apartment, and it's a pretty old one. As you can see, the finishings are fairly old. But what a lot of people do is, because it's such a good location and a good size apartment, people buy these and refurbish them. You could spend maybe 100,000 dirham to completely renovate this place, give it modern finishings, a new kitchen, and really make it a nice home. This would have probably been somewhere we considered buying to live in because we like the location. There's a lot of nice restaurants and things and community spaces around, and it's really nice for families. And the incredible view. And with that higher price, it actually rents out at around 100 and 105,000 dirham a year, which is quite a chunk of money considering it's quite an old apartment. But the rest of them in the building are rented out. There's not many for sale. You can see how popular these places are. I guess you have kind of like a golden triangle. There's location, price, and size. And trying to find one that's all three of those things is not easy. Now, number 5 is an interesting one. It is Dubai Marina, just behind us here. And when we went to view this apartment, I didn't even realize it was the old building I used to live in. I lived in Marina in a place called Marina Residence for about 6 to 9 months, I think it was. And you might have seen some of my old videos. I did a tour of it, which you can watch up here quite a while ago now. It's a pretty small 1-bed, but very cool to be living in Marina. Again, quite dated as it was one of the first buildings in Marina, but it has a metro stop just outside of it and this incredible view. Now, being in Marina, it's a little bit smaller at about 720 square foot, and it comes in at a reasonable price of 1.15 million. Quite pricey for quite a small unit, but you're living in Marina Marina, which is extremely desirable. So desirable that there's loads of traffic now, so that's another con. There's a lot of pros and cons to living in Marina, which I think I made a video about, which I'll link below, when I was leaving Marina a couple years ago. Marina still has a big place in my heart. I love it. I really do feel like that is a big part of Dubai, and you feel like a tourist every day, and it's incredible. But there's some downsides to that, smaller apartments, traffic, and all of those things. So lots of things to consider whether you're buying it to live in or buying it to rent out. And that again rents out for about 90,000 dirham. Now, while we're talking about Marina, let's talk a little bit about the Airbnb situation. Now, I've seen loads of people recommending to do Airbnb, and you see all those guys on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok where they're like, I bought 500 apartments and I flipped them and I'm making so much money. And it's like, yeah, okay, you probably can do that. It's a lot of work and you've got to have a lot of capital behind you to do that. And that's not what I'm interested in. But if that works for you, then go for it, because I'm sure there's a lot of money to be made with tourists coming in. But you've got to remember, there's so many of these Airbnbs now, as well as hotels being very competitively priced here because there's so many of them. So the Airbnb market fluctuates so much. I've seen a few videos where people really suffer during the summer period, where it's very quiet in Dubai and everyone leaves and not many people come on holiday. And then, of course, you make your money in the winter. But trying to balance that with very high winters and very low summers, it's not something I'm looking to do. I just want consistency. I'm sure you could earn a lot more money by Airbnb-ing these places, but you've got to think about all the service that comes along with that. There's some companies that deal with all of it for you, and they take a cut. I guess do your own research. I looked into it. It wasn't for me. Maybe in the future. I think it's a really good thing if you have a property in Marina or downtown, but where we ended up with, which you'll see later, probably not the best idea. Talking of later, don't forget to subscribe, because we're halfway through this video and I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a long one. I'm hoping some of this information is good for you guys. Drop us a like or a comment. I'd be interested to talk about this real estate situation with you guys, especially with rents and prices extremely skyrocketing over the past few years in Dubai. It's a really interesting market, and we're really happy to be getting our foot in the door. We're very fortunate and we work very hard. So I'm very happy and proud to say that we've done this. But shut up, Bradley, we want to talk about apartments. So for the next couple of apartments, we are heading over to Dubai Hills. I love Dubai Hills. It is probably my favorite area in Dubai. It's got a massive park, it has a massive mall, and it's a really well thought out development. It's all by Emaar, the whole area. So although there's many different apartment blocks and villas, it's all thought about in a cohesive way. There's a lot of areas in Dubai, like Arjan, where we're living, where it's a lot of random developers and a lot of random areas, with people just dropping buildings all around and going, oh, we should plop a mall there, we should build a hotel. So it's a bit disjointed, whereas Dubai Hills is very well thought out. So for apartment number 6, we're going to up our budget slightly, because this is one that we looked at for living in ourselves, where we wanted a 2-bed. So we looked at a 2-bed in Park Heights. Now you can see this apartment is amazing. It's got an amazing balcony at the front, a very nice open kitchen space, and it's about 950 square foot. Now the bedrooms are very small. You're only just going to sort of fit a double bed in there, and especially the second bedroom, it's tiny, but you get the amazing community and everything we just spoke about, and that is coming in at around 1.6 million dirham, which is reasonable, I'm going to say. When we first looked about a year ago, it was 1.4, and I think now it's even at sort of 1.7, 1.8 sort of price range, because it's such a desirable area. Everything in Dubai Hills is selling out. The buildings are all sold, the rent's going through the roof, and this one actually rents out for about 120,000. And of course, that's a much bigger down payment. You're looking at about 320,000 down, as well as the DLD fee. You're looking at about 400,000 all in. So obviously we didn't go for that in the end, because we're not living there and we didn't want to push to have that crazy budget. Next is Park Point. Now Park Point is a little bit more out the way and a smaller building in Dubai Hills. Still very nice, really nice finishings, and a lot of these units were available. We actually went to 2 or 3 different apartments in this building and checked them out. Some were furnished, some were unfurnished, and it turned out that someone had bought like 10 apartments and then wanted to sell them on like a year later, so I'm sure they made a pretty hefty profit. They were about 1.2 when we looked at them, and now they're ranging to like 1.3, 1.4. It's a very crazy place, Dubai Hills. It's moving fast, but I know a lot of people that want to live there and are living there. So very interesting having a 740 square foot apartment as a one bed selling for that high. And even the rent for that one bed, you're looking at 100 to 110k. So it's a good investment, really. I do wonder if the hype of Dubai Hills will come down a little bit over the coming years, especially with a lot of other buildings they're building in the area. It's just getting more and more densely populated, but with Dubai Hills Mall next door, why would you not want to live there? It's really, really nice. Finally, we have Pinnacle, which again is a little bit outside and very, very similar to Park Point. 740 square foot, 1.2, 1.4 million. So again, quite a hefty price tag, and it still rents out very, very well. So that was apartments 6, 7 and 8, all in Dubai Hills. And now we're taking a look at Damac Hills. But before we do that, quick throwback to my apartment in Arjan, which everyone keeps asking me what it is and where I live. And I wasn't going to tell you guys while I was still living there in case you had some crazy people that wanted to come pay me a visit. But now I've moved out, I can tell you that we were actually living in Montrose Residence, and we were in Tower A. There's actually Tower A and Tower B. These are very popular buildings in Arjan. There's a lot of stuff being built around them now, so it's a little bit noisy and a little bit more congested, but we love our apartment. It was massive. It was about 1,100 square foot, and we had a really, really good deal because we were in there for 2 or 3 years. We actually were paying about 75,000 dirham for this massive 2-bed because landlords can only increase a little bit each year. And if your landlord does try and increase it a lot, there's actually this thing called the RERA calculator. And if it's above that, you can tell them that you're going to report them. And there's a whole sort of process to it. While we're going into that, a little bit more story time. Now, what happens is people get into a contract and they can only increase it by, I think, 5% a year. But if your landlord wants to increase it more, what they try and do sometimes is they kick you out. Now, the only way to kick someone out is by giving you an official court notice to say that they want to live in the apartment. So the owner has to say they're going to move back in, but they have to move back in. They can't re-rent it. So actually, one of my friends had their place in Marina, and the owner kicked them out after a year. It was fine. They did all the paperwork correctly, and they said they were going to move into it, which is completely fine. They then looked, and a couple months later, it was actually relisted on Dubizzle and rented out. So when it was rented out, you can actually report them, because that's not correct. You're not allowed to rent it out after you've kicked someone out and told them you're going to move in. And they actually ended up getting 50,000 dirham back, because you can actually, I wouldn't say sue, but you can, I don't know the word, but you can basically tell them that that was wrong, and then the government get involved and say that was wrong, you need to pay these guys a year of rent minus the fees and everything. You end up with a pretty healthy sum of money. And don't kick people out and try and be greedy. Like I really don't get that, like landlords kicking people out, increasing the rent. It's like if you have a good tenant who's continuously paying the increase, you might be able to get 5,000-10,000 dirham more, but is it really worth the hassle to kick someone out and bring someone new in? And is it going to be a good tenant? And all of these things, do they pay on time? There's a lot to consider. I'm sure I'm just waffling, but story time over. And over to Damac Hills 2. Not 2. 2 is really, really far. Do not get anything in 2. It is literally in the middle of nowhere. I went there for the first time the other day. Very cheap, very nice, but it's like an hour to get anywhere. So we're heading to Damac Hills 1. Now, Damac Hills 1 is a very, very nice development. I like it. I'd probably live there myself, and there's some really nice apartments. It all kind of revolves around the golf course, which runs all the way through. You've got 3 tiers of living here. You have these big high-rise tower blocks with studios and 1-beds. You have these smaller golf promenade buildings, which are larger 1 and 2 beds. And then you have the big villas and the townhouses overlooking the golf course, which are 2 to 6 beds. So we actually looked at, first of all, the studio. So this was in I think it was called the Carson Tower. I'll put it over here. And it was 650,000 dirham for this very, very small 1-bed. Now, this is only 450 square foot, but it's perfect for someone living on their own or starting out in Dubai. I know a lot of these are on Airbnb, as it's a good starter place for fairly cheap. Now, that is only costing you 130k down, 26k in DLD, and 13k in the agency fee. So a very relatively cheap apartment, quite small, but very good location, and they really rent out well all the time. Now, they seem to rent for about 65,000, so it's pretty good return. It's very cheap, and it rents very well. So I actually think that's quite a good option. And with that actually brings us on to number 10, which is the apartment we actually bought. Now, we got one in this Golf Promenade building, which we're very, very happy with. But bit of a story first. We actually went through the whole process with this apartment that you would have seen in a vlog a couple weeks ago or months ago now. We got very, very far down the line. We did all the agreements, all the paperwork, and just before the owner was about to sign to say that we're going to buy it, after we negotiated and spent loads of time there, he then pulled out and said he's going to continue renting it. Very annoying going through the process of doing that, but we love that building and we thought the prices were very reasonable there. So the one we agreed on was 920,000, but then we found another one in a different Golf Promenade building, because there's sort of a collection of 6 one side and 6 another. Found another perfect apartment. We managed to negotiate with the seller and get it down to 893,000 dirham. Very good price. And what makes this deal even better and pretty unique is that actually we don't have to pay any agent fee. Now, the agent who we've been dealing with actually works directly for the owner of the apartment, so they're not charging us a 2% agency fee, which is a big win. So we've gone through quite a bit of trouble with this, lots of back and forth, and I'm going to walk you guys through the whole process eventually, because it's very complicated with lots of things along the way to try and hinder you, but we finally did it. This is our apartment. I don't actually remember what videos I've got, so here you go, and let me just bring the chart up one final time. So it's Golf Promenade, it's a 1-bed, it's 760 square foot, which is pretty big. You've got a nice big living room with an open plan kitchen, and then a bedroom and an attached bathroom in the living room. So then you go out into the balcony, which overlooks the pool and the golf course, which I've got to say is a very, very nice view. We're on one of the lower levels, but we got that incredible deal. And on a more positive note, one of my friends is actually renting it out, so we don't even have to go through the trouble of trying to rent it to someone and all the drama. So in the end, we were looking at 176,000 down payment, about 36,000 on the DLD fee, no agency fee. The service fee for the year is 14,000, which is an ongoing thing. And these buildings typically rent out for about 65 to 75,000 dirham. So overall, financial wise, we're very happy, and this is the start of our real estate journey. So I'm going to be a nice landlord, I hope. Please don't think this is me showing off. This is between me and my partner Eb, and we've worked very hard and saved for a very, very long time for this. So this is just our first step, and hopefully you found a little bit of insight in these 10 apartments. Obviously there was a lot more, and there's loads and loads of different areas you can explore, but this was my experience. I think I'm going to make a guide on the process of buying the apartment, because there's lots of paperwork and lots of hurdles to jump through, so I'd like to try and make that easier for people. So let me know in a comment down below if that's something you'd find useful. And with that being said, this has taken me a very long time to make this video, and it's been a long time coming. Please drop a like and a subscribe if this video has been at all helpful for you guys, and thank you guys for sticking around. Don't forget to check out all the other videos I've made about checking out apartments in Dubai. There's been quite a lot over the years, and a lot of the information is still relevant. We've got quite a few trips planned, so a lot more travel vlogs coming. We're also now fully moved to Saudi Arabia, so loads of exciting Saudi adventures coming up, as well as lots of fun weekends of debauchery in Dubai. Wow, that's a big word. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The sun is now set. That's how long this video has taken me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you somewhere in the world next time. Boom. And yes, I am very, very sweaty. It's still about 30 degrees out here at night, and yes, this was filmed on the Palm Jumeirah with this amazing view of Marina behind me. See you guys soon.